So we settled on it. And I thought I was going to go get hired. And I call it now my small-minded goals was I just wanted to go be a police officer, right? I wanted to go make $80,000 a year and, have my nice house, my nice cars, and my nice life and jet skis and all that. And that was what I call now my small-minded goals and focus. All right. What I found out later was, so when there's a contract, there's like an offer,
right,
an acceptance, and mutuality. You both have a meeting of the minds. You both agree on this. You sign on this, and it's enforced through performance, meaning they perform what they promised, I perform what I promise, and we go on about our lives, right? Well, they never they never did their performance. They never changed my status from termination to a voluntary resignation, which would allow me to go get hired. They never changed it. All right. And now looking back, that was their way of, I call it hoodwinking me, pulling the wool over my eyes, lying to me, was that their whole pretext was to get me to shut up about this thing that I knew that they did. Right. And the way I know that now is through that agreement was that this was the bulk of it. They had me focusing on fighting these charges, right? Yeah, we promised this. Okay, but you have to promise not to do this, not to say this, not to do this. Okay, let's do this. I don't care. Sign it, right? Well, then there's that clause in there that says, if one of these is broken, the other ones are still enforced. Them knowing that they would never perform this. Well, we'll fight over this, but we got you to shut up on this. We got you to do this, which was their whole pretext to get this whole thing squashed and put out.
Welcome to the Transition Drill Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Pantiani. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. So let's get into this. Talk to me about young Danny. Where's hometown for you?
Hometown is Oxnard, California, born and raised. I was born 1969 on the south end of Oxnard. Went to Sunkist Elementary School, Eel Green Junior High, graduated from Wainimi High School. I grew up with my mom and dad are still married. I think they're going on like 58 years.
Generational here in Oxnard? Were your parents also?
So my dad was born here in Oxnard. His parents migrated from Mexico up. My mom is from New Orleans, and her mom, my grandmother, went up to Iowa to go to chiropractic school. Somehow or another, she got word that there were no chiropractors here in the Oxnard, Port Hueneme area. So she came out and started her own chiropractic firm. And my mom went to Hueneme High School. My dad went to Hueneme High School. They met, and the rest is history. So I have an older brother, me, younger brother, and a younger sister.
Did all your siblings also stay in the area too?
They did. We all live like a stone's throw away from each other. Well, except my sister, she lives out in Ventura. But my older brother and younger brother live kind of around the corner, down the street, around the corner from me type.
Your mom, so your grandmother was a chiropractor.
Correct.
What'd your parents do?
My dad worked at Mayfair Market pretty much his whole career. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was a homemaker. And my dad later transitioned into owning his own janitorial supply company. And so that's what he still does to this day. They're pretty much semi-retired now. My younger brother, younger sister run the warehouse. And my dad goes in, checks on the things, but he's pretty much semi-retired with my mom. So my older brother, he does woodworking. He creates cabinets, chairs, desks, remodels homes, you name it. So he does.
Sounds like the family's very entrepreneurial in nature.
I know it does. And I was kind of the only one that kind of went into a
government job.
Yeah, or a job. We got a job. So yeah.
As a young kid growing up, what took up your time? Were you big into sports?
I did sports quite a bit. I was more into music from the time I was 6 years old. So I heard this song on there. So when I was growing up, my childhood hero was Elvis Presley.
Okay.
I wanted to be Elvis Presley. I mean, you just see the glamour.
I'm sure you were the only one who wanted to be Elvis.
Right. And so later that time, or later, let's say within the same age frame, when I was 6 years old, I heard that song "Sir Duke" by Stevie Wonder on the radio. It has this trumpet intro. And I was like, all the bells and whistles went off. I want to play the trumpet. So my mom and dad actually went and rented a student trumpet for me. I was 6 years old. And they got me a private teacher, and that guy taught that little 6-year-old Danny music theory, how to write music, read music, play music, hear music. I'm talking everything music, all right? And so that's all I did. I locked myself in my room and just played the scales, the exercises, the songs on the trumpet. I joined the elementary school band. E.O. Green in junior high, the E.O. Green, the jazz band, symphony, and orchestra. Went into high school, was in the marching band, the orchestra, and all that. And those were the glory days of MTV, right? The early to mid 80s. And obviously you see the videos of bands on this video. So I wanted to be in a band. Right, so that was my first.
Not many bands with trumpet players.
Well,
though.
I know. So then I switched like the guitar and the bass. I picked up the bass guitar, and so we kind of went in and out of garage bands with friends and things like that. And I always was kind of the kid who wanted to be an adventure, And back then, in the mid to late 80s, law enforcement was very, very glorified. Meaning there was the movies of Lethal Weapon, right? Die Hard, Colors, and it's like, man, that's like a really good job to have. I mean, everybody loved law enforcement, and they were playing that they were the good guys. They always won. And I started working at the Port Hueneme Police Department as a cadet, and I saw the officers. They had nice cars, they had nice homes. A little more reality as to going and being trying to be a rock star, and so I got into law enforcement.
Taking it backwards, though, were your parents into music?
No, nobody was into music.
So, I mean, that's to go from a 6-year-old saying, I want to play the trumpet, to your parents just kind of placating you, like, all right, here's a trumpet, go learn. But I mean, to go all in and get you lessons and stuff, were you normally a kid who said, hey, if I want to do something, I'm kind of, I'll stick with it?
So my parents and me and my whole family were Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, they still are. I still believe it. I still go that route. They have that belief to where you don't really get involved in Little League or school sports or school dances or anything like that. But that was just my that's what kickstarted my heart, of seeing Elvis or the bands, and and that's what I wanted to do.
They didn't have a problem with you wanting to pursue music?
Well, they
from
probably,
a performance aspect, or
they probably thought, yeah, go on your room and play. You
Got
know what I mean? And it never transpired to that, even though that's what I wanted to do. But yeah, that's,
Did you ever get to the point where you were actually playing in rock bands, and where there could have been that pivot?
Yes. So, in high school, there was a guy named Scotty Morris. He played the trumpet, I played the trumpet, and, in the trumpet section, we got to know each other. And he graduated as I was a freshman. All right. And we kind of became good friends. We hung out, and I saw him at the beach when we would go surfing or what have you. And later in life, I would say about 6-7 years later, when I was just starting my law enforcement career, I saw him up at the Ventura Mall, and he was working the kiosk, one of the kiosks. He was working there. And I go, hey, Scotty, how you doing? He goes, hey, so what are you doing now? I told him, hey, I'm going to be a cop. And he's like, oh, so you still like kind of tootle around on your trumpet and all that? I go, no, I've kind of laid that down, and I'm just going to pursue this. And he's like, oh, okay. And so we kind of parted ways, and, I went on my way. And a couple years later, he's like playing in that band, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy.
Wow.
And I'm sure at the time he was looking for trumpet players, And so I thought that was maybe my one opportunity that I passed by to go do law enforcement,
It's one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda moments, huh?
Yeah. You know, I honestly believe now, after all that I've been through and done and accomplished and fell short of, like, everything happens for a reason.
Right.
You know, we're right here for a reason as to what brought us to sit down together to talk, what brought me to start my own company. You know, it's chapters in life that you don't know what the next chapter is going to read, but next thing you know, you're closing that chapter and starting a new chapter.
Very true.
So, yeah.
And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, can get caught up in that, oh, I should have. Yeah, whereas right. Take stock of what you have today and be happy with where you're at.
Right.
Life choices are life choices. Who knows if you would have gone the big bad voodoo daddy route, it could have caused more negatives than positives.
Right. Yeah, look at all the lifestyles that those guys actually did. Yeah. I'm not saying that Scotty did that, but I'm just saying of all the...
You never know.
You never know. Right. Yeah.
Coming out of high school, do you have any... I know you said you went into law enforcement right away, kind of as a cadet. You and I kind of shared that aspect. Did you have any college aspirations coming out of high school?
No. I didn't like school. I passed, I graduated, but I was focused on getting out in the world. You know what I mean? Starting my own thing. I'm from the School of Hard Knocks. I think that's the best education that's out there. And, so I did, but I was just wandering through it. I didn't know what classes to take.
Right.
You know, counselors don't really help you. They kind of tell you take this class, but you don't. The only thing that looking back now, when I said, I'm going to play the trumpet, and I went and I played the trumpet. Later, I said, I'm going to be a police officer. And I then went and put myself through the Reserve Academy, applied myself, passed, you know what I mean? Got into that, then became a reserve, and then on to being a full-time sworn officer. Like when I say I'm going to do something, nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to do it no matter how long it takes. I'm going to do it. So
a little headstrong.
Yeah. Sometimes I guess it's a good thing, you know?
So what year did you go full-time?
1991.
Okay.
Was when I went to the academy, got hired full-time.
And you ended up spending how many years in law enforcement?
So 91, including academy time, to 2003, so 12 years. And then not including 3 years reserve time. I got hired when I was like 18, 19. And then you could get hired full-time at 21.
So they let you be a reserve before you were 21?
Yes, at Port Hueneme. At the time, there was Port Hueneme, Carpinteria, and I believe Santa Paula, that they would hire you at 18. All the other agencies were 21, like Oxnard, Ventura, you know, yeah.
You didn't have the best transition out of law enforcement, though.
No.
Tell me about that story.
Looking back, it was a hard thing to go through. In short, I found out that another officer had raped his underage stepdaughter over a period of several years.
Another officer at your agency?
At my agency. The way that came about was in the locker rooms, he would expose himself to me. He says jokingly, I say, I don't care, it's weird. Stop it, knock it off. He wouldn't stop. I tell my dad about it. I tell my uncles about it. And he's like, hey, I know that guy. Come to find out, his daughter, which is what he did this to, was married to one of our relatives through marriage. Yep, he did that. Yep, he did it. So then he tells me, I then go tell administration, hey, look, you need to look into this guy. This is what he's doing to me in the locker room. This is what he's been doing for years. Come to find out, other officers were involved. I was dating a girl at the time, from 97 to 98. She was best friends with that daughter, and she told me that it happened, and it just spun out of control from there. Other stuff involved as to what I found out about that, and they put the targets on me, and they put their sights on me, and next thing you know, I'm not doing my job, and we need to get rid of you. Here's a settlement. You can go get hired at another agency if you sign this. We'll remove any discipline that we put on you and change your status from a termination to a voluntary resignation. I just needed a job. I was married. I had a 3-year-old kid. All right, fine, I'll go, you know, so I sign it. I go try and apply at other agencies. Nobody will pick me up. No, there's nothing in the personnel file that'll prevent me from getting hired. You can hire me, blah, blah, blah. Nope, sorry.
But the phone calls or the meeting for a cup of coffee during the background investigation, stuff would come up.
Oh yeah. And they'd call and sit down, let's talk about this. And I'll go and talk, and I'm telling you what happened. I don't care. Just leave it. Give me a job, right? They never hired me. Nobody ever hired me.
What I meant was when the background investigators from those other agencies were calling your current agency.
Right.
So the officer that you made these allegations against, was he connected within the administration? I mean,
Yes.
Looking back on it, why would the administration not want to pursue that?
Because one of the administrators who started this thing against me, what I was told by that girl that I was dating before, was also involved with her when she was underage.
Got it.
Okay. That officer has a history of doing things like that, abusing prisoners under color of authority. He arrested some guy one night, beat him up in the jail cell, cut off his ponytail with a pocket knife, and then put the ponytail on his antenna of his police car, drove him around all night to calls with the ponytail on the antenna. There was a big scandal of officers involved with underage police explorer. One of them pretty much raped her while on duty in a patrol car. He never got fired. Other officers were involved. That officer was involved. He got caught lying about it. He got caught denying it, doing that whole thing. Somehow or another, he got the sergeant who was investigating it to keep him out of it. And yeah, it was just bad. Later, I found out how he's able to manipulate all these people. So we settled on it. And I thought I was going to go get hired. You know, and I call it now my small-minded goals was I just wanted to go be a police officer, right? I wanted to go make $80,000 a year and, you know, have my nice house, my nice cars, and my nice life and jet skis and all that. And that was what I call now my small-minded goals and focus. All right. What I found out later was, so when there's a contract, there's like an offer,
right,
an acceptance, and mutuality. You both have a meeting of the minds. You both agree on this. You sign on this, and it's enforced through performance, meaning they perform what they promised, I perform what I promise, and we go on about our lives, right? Well, they never did their performance. They never changed my status from termination to a voluntary resignation, which would allow me to go get hired. They never changed it. All right. And now looking back, that was their way of, I call it hoodwinking me, pulling the wool over my eyes, lying to me, was that their whole pretext was to get me to shut up about this thing that I knew that they did. Right. And the way I know that now is through that agreement was that this was the bulk of it. They had me focusing on fighting these charges, right? Yeah, we promised this. Okay, but you have to promise not to do this, not to say this, not to do this. Okay, let's do this. I don't care. Sign it, right? Well, then there's that clause in there that says, you know, if one of these is broken, the other ones are still enforced. Them knowing that they would never perform this. Well, we'll fight over this, but we got you to shut up on this. We got you to do this, which was their whole pretext to get this whole thing squashed and put out. So
from the time you brought it to, or let's even take a step backwards. When you first brought it to their attention, how long before they initiated what I'm assuming is their own IA against you?
Oh, I would say within a month, 2 months.
So really quick.
Yeah, it was like boom. And I'm sitting there waiting for, so what happens? Well, you know this. What happens when I call and say, hey, that next door neighbor, he did A, B, and C. You don't go over there and say, hey, did you do A, B, and C? No. Okay, see you later. Like, well, come talk to me and take the report.
Right.
Investigate it, record this conversation, right? I was sitting there waiting for them to call me into IA. Sit down. Okay, so what happened? Who knows about this? What are your relatives' phone numbers? What did they tell you? Okay, we'll contact them. Right. Do an investigation.
Usual investigation.
Nothing. And if it's unfounded, great. But this is what I was told.
Right. And from the time they initiated their IA on you till your separation was how long?
It was like, I would say about 9 months.
So
6 to 9 months.
Quite a long were you working the entire time, or did they have you off on admin leave?
I was working.
Okay. And silly question, did you have your own representation, like through your POA or any type of lawyer?
My POA. So
no lawyer was help.
Well, I told him about it. And
I'm asking a stupid question, but you talk about how, and not to your own fault, but you're a young man. You're just looking to, hey, I just want to keep my career going. I need to move on to another agency. So maybe you didn't read all the fine print or whatever. Was there nobody kind of in your ear helping you along with this?
No. I didn't understand the fine print. I didn't really, all I wanted at that point in time was just give me a freaking job. I just need a job. I have a family.
Right.
I'm heading into dire straits and financially, right?
And the agency you're working for sounds like, even for Southern California, still kind of on a smaller side.
Correct.
So very easy to have the good old boys club, and then you were the outsider.
Correct.
Looking back in hindsight, if you were going through that today, what might you do differently?
I would slam them with a written report of what these people told me. I would go to the city council meetings, sit and talk. Hey, it's been 30 days now. They haven't contacted me, right? Get an attorney right away, because I know what's coming down. The second they start investigating me and not him or them, attorney, file it, right? I mean, yeah. This is like, why open my eyes wide open as to what to do if that were to ever happen again. I'll never want to go back to that environment. But yeah, I was a docile kid, man. I was just a happy-go-lucky kid. I'm a police officer. I'm happy. I'm doing good police work, right? I'm married. I have a house. I have cars. Jesus, I have a 3-year-old son. Jesus, life couldn't get any better, right? I was never on that move like, oh, watch out for you, or what? Wait, what were they saying? Or what?
And the only reason I ask that is because one of the aspects that I want for this podcast is the teaching aspect. Mm-hmm. And for anybody listening who might work for an agency, who might be on that bubble of being the whistleblower,
call me. I'll leave my number.
I mean, I don't care how big of an agency it is. It's hard to be that guy to go, hey, I want to wave the red flag and get you looking in a certain way.
Right. Unfortunately, and I love law enforcement. Right. My heart is still with the actual mission statement of law enforcement. But unfortunately, in that environment, in these departments, and I hate to say it because it's just not me. That's why I would never go back to it. You have to throw the first punch first, hit them hard, and is what will protect you in the long run. So if you file that report that says Officer so-and-so did this, and this, you turn it in, you get the records department to stamp it, boom, it's in. Now they can't touch you, right? Now it's actually retaliation other than, oh, you never told us that. No, you never told us that. You know what I mean? It protects you right from the start.
And this may be a rhetorical question, but do you think you would have looked at outside legal assistance beyond what your POA was providing you?
I did. Because the POA, in my opinion, the POA representation exists because the department allows it to exist, right? They somehow or another pick the law firm that's going to side with them. And the people who are in that aren't usually cops. They're lawyers. So They don't know about a certain procedure, or they don't know about a certain file that's over in the city attorney's office, or they don't know the ins and outs of somebody who can correctly represent you. They're just a basic attorney, basically, right? So yeah, I did. I sought outside attorney on it. We ended up settling on it, and like I told you, the agreement was in my favor to the point that I believe them with them saying that I can go get hired. It's in the newspaper. They said he can go get hired right there in the newspaper. This makes it easy for Danny to go get hired, another agency, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't care. Sign it.
So your case against you actually got media attention in the local newspaper?
It did. It was released in the newspaper. It was then later released in the settlement of the settlement that we agreed on the settlement. And it says it right in that newsletter that Danny can go get hired at another agency. Well, yeah, right. It's never going to happen because maybe some agency would have hired me, but when they go do the background, they go look at my status, I'm terminated.
Right.
And they're not going to hire you, right? But they should have changed it. They didn't. And that later shows that they had this whole pretext and this whole agenda that they weren't going to do that. They just wanted me to shut up on these other clauses that are in the settlement. So,
how many subsequent agencies did you try to get hired by?
Let's see, 3 total. One of them twice. Because what it was coming down was as they were getting ready for the termination. Hey, look. Go apply over at Oxnard. We'll keep this while you're going through the background, right? And at that point, I didn't believe them. This whole thing, my whole time, my head was spinning on this whole thing. All right, and so I didn't sign it. I was like, I'm not gonna do this. You know, this is something just felt off to me on this. They're hoodwinking me again. They're bullshitting me again. All right. So I didn't sign it. Went to the termination. That's where we went through the lawsuit, and then we went back to the settlement. And then now. It was cleaned up. Okay. Then I go and apply at these other agencies. And it's still the same.
And about how much total time before you started kind of seeing the writing on the wall, like my law enforcement career is over?
I'll say about 4 years later. So 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, right around then, it was just kind of like.
So you kept at it trying to get rehired for almost 4 years.
Yeah, that was the agreement, right? What's the problem? Other officers who I've known have done some severe things have gotten hired at other agencies. What's the problem here, you know? So,
one last question regarding your original incident. The officer that you made the allegations, has he ever since been charged or?
No. Full retirement. The other officer who was also involved in it did all that, promoted up to captain, full retirement. And, yeah.
Daughter never came forward with anything?
No. Yeah.
So what were your work options in your mind once you realized, okay, I can't be a cop anymore? Was it straight into security work or did you do other things?
No. So, at that time, and that's why, and I'm not belittling anybody in law enforcement or any other job. And you'll start seeing why now I see that compared to what I see now and do now. Okay. I still had that small-minded mentality. Go get a job at Costco. I went and got a job at my dad's warehouse, making $500 a week when I was making like almost $1,500 a week over at the department. And I was thinking that this is my life, you know. And then that mindset of me came in, going like, no, there's something much bigger, much better. Something has brought me here to this, right? And my wife, God bless her. I love her to death. And she was the one who was always probably has more strong-headed to me because she was the one who was actually saying, no, F that. We're suing them. No, that's bullshit. No, we're doing this. I'm like, okay, we're going to sue them. You know what I mean? And
right.
And she was kind of the one who has always had my back and pushed me to do this whole thing. And she actually an officer that I worked with at the department. Actually, so let me go back. I was getting little jobs here and there. I applied at Topper's Pizza to be a call taker, just trying to get 3-4 jobs. I mean, this was like, it was, yeah.
You got to take care of your family.
I had to take care of my family. And this was like, where am I going with it? Why won't they hire me? Why won't they charge these officers? What the heck is going on here? Right. And so this officer that I used to work with, at the police department, he retired earlier. He calls me, he knows the story, he knows what's going on, and he gets me a job as in security, working executive protection for some client out in Beverly Hills, all right? And heck, I'll take it, man. I'll do whatever I can. And it's just a part-time thing. Oh, no, I don't care. I'll take it. I'll do it, right? So I go and I do that, and, that was sort of an eye-opener at that, seeing these billionaires' lifestyles. Their freedoms, their opportunities, and that's kind of like, and then I go back to Oxnard and I'm driving a forklift, right?
Job number 17 of the day.
Yeah. I'm thinking like, well, if they can do this, well, why can't I? You know what I mean? It started opening up my small-minded goals as to the world is much bigger. They're talking about hopping on their private plane, going to London to pick up a friend to fly to Spain. like as if we talk about, hey, I'll come over here, pick you up on the other side of Oxnard to drive to Ojai.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're talking about like worldwide, and I never realized how big the world was with all the opportunities other than just my small-minded in Simi Valley, Ventura County police officer. Other than that, what other job could possibly give me the financial stability for my family, right? And so that's how I got into law enforcement, was through David Radaziner, who got me
into private security work.
Private security work, yeah.
And how long did you do it as an employee of somebody else before you thought about doing your own company?
About 6-7 years. I was still in that small-minded mindset. Just get a job. Just get a job. You know, oh, there's another detail to work. Oh, I'll do it. I'll take it. Well, how much is it? $250 a day? Oh, I'll take it. I was just still in that survival mode of I got to provide for my family, right? And I don't specifically remember when I spoke with my wife, but she either asked or I told her about the private patrol operator license, which means in California, you can now own and operate a security company yourself if you have this license, all right? And I didn't have any sales experience. I never had to sell anybody to go into jail. You're going to jail, or you're right. I never had to say, hey, come on.
Right.
So I didn't really have that skill other than my social skills and my personality, right? So I remember I went and my son was playing Little League, and I reffed or umpired for Little League, umpired a Little League game, and they paid me like $30. Wow, it might as well have been like $300. I mean, that was like really good for the time.
Right.
My shoes were just old. My underwear were old. I mean, I'm talking. I was like down and out, right? So $30, and my wife talked to me about putting it in an envelope that says PPO on it for private patrol operator, and we'll just start stocking away money there to get your own license. All right.
At that time, how much was the license?
I think it was like $1,400.
So pretty. That's a good chunk.
It might have been $1.4 million to me at the time, right?
Right.
It was like that's just my financial status at the time to where.
And what year is this?
This was like 2010, 2009. Okay. And in the meantime, I was doing these little odds and ends security jobs, working at my dad's warehouse, and I then got a job as a security director for a family who have estates in Malibu and Montecito. And then that bumped me back up to like $80,000 a year, which is like, oh, I'm back where you know what I mean? It took me from
started feeling comfortable again.
2003 to 2010, back on this. And then I was like, oh my God, this is like God sent,
Was it one of those things that once you got into the world of the private security work, more work came to you?
Yes. Because I was taking all the crap shifts. You need me to work graveyards? I will. Graveyards holiday? I will. Graveyards weekend? I don't care. My focus was providing for my family, right? And so then I ended up getting a job as a security director of a family, and then just because you're a police officer doesn't mean you know security,
right?
Trust me, a lot of people come out of it thinking, oh, I was a police officer, this. Like, yeah, tell me the executive protection formations, right? Tell me what a security director is supposed to do, right? I mean, it's completely different, right? So,
well, you can't even address it the same way, because I'm gonna step on the little bit that I understand. Mm-hmm. When you're in law enforcement, it's a lot of I'm telling you what to do. Mm-hmm. Move out of the way, clear this area. Where you're working executive protection, it's more about being invisible.
Concierge. Yeah.
So it's not only not knowing the skill set, it's a completely different mindset.
Right. A lot of officers get into the executive protection field and they fail just because I'm not carrying her grocery bags. I'm not carrying her Gucci bags. It's like, well, what do you want, dude? Well, I'm not going to sit here and watch cameras all night. It's like, that's the job.
Right.
They want that pursuits and hot calls and. Yeah, but a lot of officers just go, I did this, I did that, and they're comfortable with their $4,000 retirement a month. Oh, that's good. It pays the bills. You know what I mean? And I tell them that's the small-minded mindset. Okay, so now I started looking at these this family in particular, and she was so good to me. And I saw her lifestyle, what she was able to do for other people financially, and so my mindset started to grow, and I couldn't do that working Monday through Friday, having a job, right? I couldn't do that being a police officer, making a minimal salary, right? I couldn't do that, and I wanted to do that. I wanted to be somebody like that or emulate somebody like that, right? And so I finally had enough money to get my own license, and I didn't know anything about workers' comp formulas, liabilities. Okay, I didn't know any of that. Being an entrepreneur or a businessman, I didn't know, all right? But I studied my butt off on these study guides that the BSIS, the Bureau of Security Investigative Services for California, give you. Asked questions. Nobody gave me answers. I called like other security companies. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Well, they didn't want to talk to me. Right?
Competition.
That's competition. Not really. When you see how much security, how many accounts are out there, it's not really competition because I don't want all the accounts because I couldn't handle all the accounts. Right. Anyways, I studied. I passed. I was like, you actually go in, you take the test, and they tell you passed or not right afterwards. And I'm like, oh my God, I passed. We actually went down to San Diego to take the test because that was the closest one for that date that I could do. So my family, my wife, my son, and I went down San Diego, and I went and took the test, came back, and I remember walking in the hotel room, and I passed, and they're like, oh yay! So we kind of went out and had a nice dinner that night because I was making money back now working for that family, and
for somebody who might be looking to get into this line of work, when you talk about the test, to your knowledge, is the test still the same today, or?
I'm sure it's altered or some change, but for the most part, it's still the same. I ran into a captain from the police department I was in just the other day, and he was telling me, "Hey, I heard you had your security coming." I go, "Yeah, I do. Here's my card and all that." And he goes, "Man," he goes, "I know like 7 people who just can't pass that test." I told him, "Well, have them give me a call because I know of a little secret on how to pass the test." Okay, and this will go into like what I'm doing now. Yeah, so I passed it, and I'm thinking, okay, now go get accounts, right? And then
super easy.
Yeah, really easy, And I had friends like Jeff who referred me people, got accounts that way. I went and I just marketed the heck out of myself. I went to mixers, joined Chamber of Commerce's. Back in the old police saying, I shook the trees and beat the bushes, just trying to have something come out, right? And so that's what I did. I built up accounts. One of the accounts, I also still worked some certain executive protection accounts while I ran my company, so I'm like an owner and operator.
But you were working solely for yourself at this point, or did you?
Yeah, pretty much. But then I would pick and choose under my license to get 1099 what I would go and do off of my PPO.
Got it.
Okay. One of the guys that I worked with, he referred me over to one of these big clients. So supposedly what happened with one of these clients was he was at one point the 3rd richest man in the world. He fired his whole security team over issues that they had, and he's looking to rebuild a team, right? And so this guy was in with the people that were there in that company, referred me over. I went and did it. They were telling me, okay, so this guy, we want you to be his EP driver, his executive protection driver, and, go with him to meetings and just things like that. And I was thinking like, well, I can't work this like 5 days a week. I can't put in 40 hours on it. He's like, no. It's just going to be like 3-4 days every 4 weeks. I go, oh, okay, I can do that. I can fit that in. All right. Well, it turns into like 3-4 days
every week.
Sometimes 2 weeks straight. You know what I mean? But the environment there, the way he treated me, the way he let me pick his brain, just the whole thing there, it was just a good fit for me there. And then he would take off for like 2 weeks, but then he would come back for 2-3 weeks. You know what I mean?
So he was based here in Southern California?
Actually up out of Seattle.
Okay.
And just that whole environment just kind of kick-started my what's it called? My creativity again, you know, because I had little accounts, little uniform accounts, you know, and then it was good. It was paying the bills, and then some. We were able to go on vacation, but this just really just boom, just kicked my mindset even farther. I mean, this guy had like $80 million Monet pictures hanging on his dining room wall, and you know, private planes all over the world, $300 million yachts all over the world, and that. It just blows my mind even to this day that I can't comprehend the success that this guy had, right? And then that led to other high-end clients. And I'm running programs. I'm writing up the procedures just like I did over at this family that I first started with here in Montecito, Malibu. And I'm developing a name now that I'm one of the guys. I'm not the go-to guy, but I'm one of the guys to be on these high-end details, running the programs, or at least being part of the programs. I've learned and have applied and have written programs for like high-end advanced work, high-end counter surveillance, high-end intelligence gathering, executive protection details. I'm so grateful. You know, I look back at that time when I was just like trying to get a job, man, just give me a job, you know, to now it's like, okay, I'll take it. You know, get out of here, dude. You know, there's these little small minds to now what you're seeing, what I'm doing, you know, what I'm around, you know, the environment I'm around, the people that I actually interact with. You know, it's just a whole different mindset other than a dog eat dog world. You know, and in my word of this whole cesspool that I was in, and it was just get me out of here. You know, I didn't want to be in a toxic relationship anymore. I want to go to this healthy, growing, prosperous relationship. Yeah.
Well, and you hit on something that I think is really important that a lot of people overlook is putting in the work on the front end.
Yeah.
Like you talked about, hey, when you need somebody to work graveyard weekends, call me. It was because the thing is that your success didn't come overnight. Oh. Your success came from your consistency.
Yeah.
And so I like how you talk about how you go from kind of this small-minded, but it really was just constantly putting yourself in the right place to all of a sudden now you see the big picture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I can't say that back then it was just being consistent. I was just trying to survive.
Right.
I was just trying to get a paycheck, you know, and I didn't think about owning my own company or anything like that until my wife is the one that actually pushed me to get the PPO license. And then like back when I was starting to play the trumpet, back when I wanted to be a police officer, I'm going to be a successful businessman. I am going to be an owner of a security company. Like there's nothing that's going to stop me. This is what I'm going to do. You know, and I don't know if it's just a mindset of each phase that has got me to where I'm at, you know. And now I'm just starting this online course, all right? And it's I don't want to promote it here and like that, but what it's going to do is take people who want to start their own security company. I will guide you how to fill out the application without it being rejected. Right? I will show you how to design the patch and the badge get approved on the first time, right? I will show you how to pass that test, right? I will now show you how to market your company. I will now show you how to write winning proposals. I will show you how to write good contracts that's going to benefit you and also the client. You know, I'll also show you the administrative side on how to run, you know, your books, your training, all the BSIS requirements. You know, it's actually a program for people. And I honestly want it to be for police officers who have either been through my situation also, that they just need a freaking job, to officers who have, you know, pulled into full service retirement who now want to do something on the side, you know. You can't really do it on the side, but you know what I mean? Transition over into a civilian life, you know, so that there's executive protection programs, estate security programs, the estate security director program, the management side of it, how to get your guard card, or, you know, the class to get your guard card. And so now I've kind of transitioned over into something that I look at it as if I'm giving back, because I'm not charging like some of these guys online are charging like $5,000, $10,000, you know. This one's like $500. There you go.
The program is up and active?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm still putting in the videos and the email's not connecting. My email to the program's not connecting. Stripe's not connecting. There's still some.
So you're still working the bugs out,
right? And actually, right now, I'm also looking for growth on this. That AI is taking over. Okay, what does AI do? Well, it just reads everything off the internet. Okay, well, there's intellectual property laws. All right, I'm trying to see how do I copyright this to where AI can't grab it and just start spitting it out whenever somebody says, "Oh, security director program," and then starts telling me everything that I do. So there's little things like that you have to look, but that's on the back end of it. But yeah, this program is going to be up and running in about 30 to 60 days, and yeah.
Will it all be based off your current website though? Will that be your kickoff point, or is it going to be completely separate?
It's a completely separate entity. It's the securitycoachapp.com. It's up right now, so you can see what programs are being offered. Yeah, so that's, and like I said, I don't want to charge somebody $5,000, $10,000 like some of these people are doing for a 3-day course. This is available for you. Once you pay, you're on, like $500, you're on. You go through it. I'll mentor you through it because I want you to succeed. I want you to have a life just as good, if not better than mine. My experience in security. And I want them to have it. I want people to succeed and get out of that small-minded mindset of, what do I do now? Well, $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month isn't going to help you, buddy.
Right. You
need, especially in times like nowadays, you need to start something else up, and don't go start working graveyards or, you know what I mean? Don't go the route that I did.
Right.
If you have to, do it. But I'm just trying to, hey, there's another opportunity for you that I didn't even know about. It's for, now do this. And let's say you get 3 uniformed accounts, a hotel, a construction site or something. That's going to bring you in like $15,000 on top of your $4 or $5,000 from your retirement. That's good.
For somebody thinking, all right, I'm coming close to my transition, this might be something I want to do, I want to look at your program, what's a reasonable amount of time that it would take to go through your training process, would you say, for the average person?
I would say a week.
Oh, okay. So not a lot of time.
No. Here's the information, and you have to take it in phases, right? You want to learn how to do the application? Okay, let's sit down and do the application. All right, submit it. Now we have to wait, right? Now they come back and say, okay, you're approved, but we need your insurance now. Okay, here's who you go to, reasonable rates. They give you the minimal order. Okay, now submit it, right? Now we have to wait for BSIS to send back. Okay, here you go. Here's your test. Okay. Here we go. Here's what you study. Here's how you study. This is going to get you through. You're going to pass the test, right? Now you go, you take the test. Now you submit the results. You won, or you win. You passed. Okay, now 30 days later, they send you out your license. Okay, here we go. Here's how we mark it. You know what I mean? So there's like you can go through that whole thing in a week, but you're going to have to go in phases.
Got it.
To get your license and your paperwork and the approval to go off and run into the races. So.
And as far as certification, so do you need to have a PI license?
No, but I suggest you do, because I have one. Okay. Part of your law enforcement career, you've done investigations for so many years and all that. So you'll get approved. You'll get your PI license. All right. That PI license will give you that extra added. So if you don't mind me going back a little.
Please.
Okay, so back, security was never around.
Put it this way. Imagine you're talking to yourself 10 years ago, knowing that you want to get to where you're at today. I want you to tell yourself everything you need to know.
Right. Okay. So security was never really around. Back in ancient times, it was always just the knights under the king, and all that. And they never had these personal.
Oh, you're going way back.
Well, I'm just trying to tell the story of this whole thing. Yeah, I'm going way back. And so you fast forward to 1969, right? LA's kind of the mecca of executive protection. Right, that's the where security, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, all these people. Right, that fateful night on August 4th, 1969, Charles Manson, right, committed those murders, and all of Beverly Hills, Bel Air, L.A. were just they were petrified, right? So the residents of Beverly Hills, Bel Air started hiring off-duty police officers to sit at their house. I mean, they didn't want to get slaughtered like Sharon Tate, right? The police department couldn't sit at every house 24/7, right? They didn't have the resources for that. So these people created their own resources and hired off-duty police officers, and that's kind of where executive protection kind of started, okay?
Kind of weird that you can think of the profession of executive protection could be attributed to Charles Manson.
Pretty much. I mean, I'm sure it didn't, but that's what just took off on it, all right? So what these people wanted were everything. Okay, you're off-duty police officer. Okay, I want you to give me everything that the police department is refusing to give me, that they can't handle, that they can't give me, right? I want you to give me all your experience, your resources, your tools, your skill set. I want you to give that to me. That's why I'm paying you good money, right? So you do that, you go there and you start doing the so what I tell my guards is when you're doing your rounds, you don't just go and check that padlock, right? You don't go and just check that door. You don't go and just check that monitor and all that, all right? When you're out walking the property, you're looking for signs of intrusion, right? You're looking like what I looked for on a burglary scene, footprints in the flower bed, right? Smashed shrubbery, broken cobwebs, right? You start looking, you start doing this investigative mindset throughout this whole property, right? I'm telling you right now, 99% of these companies don't train their guards to develop their investigative mindset, right? So you as a police officer coming onto security, that is one advantage you have that those people who are hiring you or contracting with want from you to develop your guards into doing, right? That is, if you're to do everything you do on patrol, right, on a property, it'll be a fail-safe account, right? So by you doing that, you now, with a PI license, you can now go and get the access to DMV databases. Hey, there's this car that's been parked out in front of my house. Oh yeah, what's the license plate? There you go, instantaneous. Oh, it belongs to this person, right? I'll run a background on him real quick. There you go. Oh yeah, he lives here, right? You can now start giving this information that people want from the police department. The police department's not going to tell them, oh yeah, that's so and so,
right?
That they live wherever, right? Right. So they're paying you to give them what the police department won't give them, right? So with your PI license and your PPO license, you can pretty much rule the world.
Now, in addition to a PPO and your PI license, do you need to have a guard card?
Yes.
So you need to have all three?
If you're performing security services, security work, you have to have your guard card. If you're a retired cop or you have your CCW license, you have to have your exposed firearm permit plus your CCW to carry it while performing security guard services.
Can you have your PPO and your company provide guard services, but only your guards have their guard card, or do you still need to have a guard card?
You don't need to. You should have it because you're going to have to fill in some shifts.
Okay.
Some people are going to call out. You're going to have to go and cover something.
Right.
Yeah, just get your guard card, Yeah.
Now, kind of changing hats a little bit, I'll say that. You were in a unique situation in that you got forced out of law enforcement. And so you very much still had that dog on a bone mentality. I got to work. I got to take care of my family. But you've mentioned some of the guys coming in long in the tooth. They've got their retirement. They still need to, unfortunately, be the new guy and earn their bones, so to speak. Yeah. What's your advice for that 50-year-old guy who's coming in and all of a sudden now he's going to be the junior guy on a team until he kind of develops the experience?
So even when I started, I mean, yeah, I did those type of patrol rounds on the property. That's what I looked for. I documented on my DAR, my daily activity report, my log. I did all that. That's what I did. All right. A lot of officers don't do that. All right. They're retired. This is to put their daughter through college. I'm just going to sit and watch cameras all night. I'll drive the golf cart around the estate. Develop a routine that you're used to doing. Okay. Come in and put in good work. Because if you come in and you do that, like what I said and more, you are going to be put into the higher paying details, you're going to develop a name for yourself, and you're going to move up very quickly. If you want to take it to where it's like this, I'm just going to work graveyards because he was the graveyard guy at the department. I'm just going to work graveyards, watch the cameras, and just collect my paycheck, put my daughter or son through college, and and that's okay. That's okay. That's what you want to do. But if you really want to come in because you don't want to be that new guy anymore, you want to move up, that's the way to move up. You just go out and just do a really good job and outshine the other. Just like when you're in the department, you want to get promoted, right? If you just want to do graveyards and you don't want to get your butt out of the car and do your foot patrols of the schools or the commercial areas, you're not going to get promoted, right? You're just going to, right? So it's the same concept as to when you come into any job. That's what I would suggest. So, and that's what I tell them when they come out. When they come to me, they want jobs or, this is what I tell them, what kind of guard do you want to be? Because there are certain details I can put you on or refer you to if you just want to do that, right? If you want to get out on the international travel circuit and travel and do advance for these people all over the world, counter surveillance, counterintelligence, what do you want to do? What's your mindset?
But it all stems from what quality of work you're going to put in on the front end and how much you're willing to work on the front end.
That's right. What do you want to do? That's after the talk of, okay, no more pursuits, right?
Yeah.
No more.
Step number 1, you're no longer a cop.
You're no longer a cop, and that's okay, That chapter's closed, Move on to another chapter. So.
You referenced it earlier and used the terminology, you need to be invisible. So when you're working executive protection, what are some of the advice tips in the sense of, all right, 1, we've already talked about it. You're no longer a cop, so you need to really leave that in the rearview mirror. But what are some of the other things to remember when you're working executive protection?
This is not your experience. That private plane is not your experience. It's the client's experience. This $50 million mansion is not your mansion. Stay in the guardhouse. Don't go walking through the house. Don't start making yourself comfortable and as if it's your space. It's not. Do your work. Come in, do your work, go home, right? Don't try and be friends with the client. Don't try and... That's your fastest ticket out of here. It's a job. Come in and do your job. It's not your lifestyle. Move on. They pay you good enough to go and develop a lifestyle, which is far exceeds what you would have gotten on the police department. So go and enjoy what you make here with your family or your loved ones or whoever. And go and create a life for yourself outside. But don't come in here thinking you can hang out in the Mister's study hall. That's a big issue with people where they want to get next to the client. They want to be the client's best friend. They want to, and it gets annoying to the client after a while until finally he's like, just fire him, just get rid of him. You start kicking your feet up on the private plane, sit there, don't open your backpack zipper, this cookies crunching, and don't ask for drinks. Don't
be invisible.
Be invisible. You're there, but you're not, right? Yeah.
On the flip side, though, when you do a very good job, have you had the experience where, I'm not going to say you become friends, hey, come on over, have a beer, watch the game, but do they get more friendly?
Oh, they do. But even at that time, there was this one client who I love. He passed away. He was starting to include me in the concerts he went to. He owned professional sports teams, so he allowed me to sit next to him, pretty much behind the bench, you know what I mean, or in the owner's suite, or it got to be a very good experience for me. But I always still,
it's still work.
Okay, yeah, it's work. I just go stand outside for a couple minutes, or I need to go check on this. I still did my job. I still didn't get comfortable, and it was the ultimate experience for me, which really kind of shot my creativity even more as to what life really should be, and not pushing a black and white on graveyards, holidays, weekends, missing my kids' soccer games, working overtime to pay that jet ski payment. I mean, that's just, to me, that's just like, what are you doing?
Right.
You did it. You got the experience. Now use that experience and now go and elevate you and your family, your quality of life, your environment. You know, that's my mindset and my viewpoint of it now. You know,
when you started, well, I'm assuming you've done international work.
Mm-hmm.
When you start crossing into and working outside the country, what other hurdles and problems do you face?
Well, you're not carrying guns over there, so you have to contract with a local company. You have to go out and vet them, you know, really look into them. And those hurdles there, if it's their first time there, usually the ones that I were on, like the guys before you or there who have been started before you have already been over there. There's already a plan and all that. You still have to develop procedures, advanced plans, evacuation procedures. You have to get them one of those helivacs, medical helicopters, you know, prepared in case something were to happen. There's a whole, I'm talking, this could be a 4-hour podcast as to the procedures that you need to do. You're on their plane, or they're on their plane, so you don't have to go through like security or, you know, a public airport, or you know, it's just a different thing. They land, you pick them up, you go. You know what I mean? You bring them to the plane, they're gone. You know what I mean? There's a whole different procedures on things to do on that. There's that intelligence gathering to do. There's advanced work. You stay out inside of a location an hour before the arrival. You're there with your camera. You're snapping shots of the location. You want to see what's normal behavior, what's not normal behavior. Start running license plates. You know, this is where you start kicking in your law enforcement training, right? You see, let's say here stateside, you're about an hour out from the client arriving. You're doing the advance. You wrote up all the report. You sent it off to the team. You're there watching the location, waiting for the client to arrive. You start seeing people loitering about, hanging about. Well, now you start kicking in and start taking pictures of them, of their license plates. Start reading their tattoos. You know, start reading their demeanor, right? This is where your law enforcement skill set kicks in, as opposed to somebody who didn't go to those classes on how to read prison tattoos, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
You have so much advantage over somebody who just got into security as to what to look for. Are they wearing an ankle monitor? Or, you know what I mean?
Right. You can tell who's out of place in a given crowd.
And who's up to no good. Just like when you're cruising through a parking lot, you see somebody standing there like, that guy's up to no good, right? You go, you do your consensual contact and blah, 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 and you take it somewhere tonight. Well, the same thing here. You know, I want law enforcement officers to really, if they watch this, to really sit and think and listen to me and say, I could go so much further with what I have developed here at this police department. I can go on to something that's very, very big, or something that's a little better than this. Right. And take that. And I don't know if certain agencies allow their officers to start a security company while they're still active. I don't know, because I know there's some that don't allow them to work security. So I don't know about that. But if you're looking at, you're getting out of it, or you're retiring, or you're going through what I went through, I would highly suggest it. Because what are you going to do? Go be a plumber?
Right.
Be an electrician? You're not going to transfer your skills from law enforcement into, you know, being an electrician. You know, why would you not build on top of that? And there's so many things you could do with owning a security company. You can then, and a PI license, you can do backgrounds, you can do consultation, you can start your own company, you can start your own online course. You know what I mean? There's like so many, I call it like the 9-box thing that you can do, because then you can get into speaking engagements. You know, you can then, there's just so much you can do that you can include your family in, make so much money, right? And just live a completely different quality of life doing all those things.
Well, one of the things that jumps out to me is I think a lot of us, especially those coming from law enforcement, it goes back to what you said at the beginning. It's that small-mindedness. I'm sure the majority, myself included, they just think, oh, I'm just going to do PI work. Right. And even just saying PI work is probably, they're putting so many parameters and blinders on what the totality of everything they can do. So it's really opening your eyes.
The sky's the limit, really. You remove that glass ceiling from your head once you get a PPO license, a PI license, it's just limitless as to what you can do, and that's also good and healthy for you, where you're able to use your creativity. You know, that there's growth. You know, there's this now growth of this online course for me now. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm stagnant or I'm burnt out on doing it. I love it. It's fun. You know, you got to see these homes that I go into. You got to see these planes that I see, these yachts. I mean, it's incredible, right? And now this is another growth form for me to where now I'm going to add on, who knows how much more a month, a year, you know, with all these online courses. And when you actually look at it, there's security guards in England that can use this online course. There's security guards in Australia, right? Germany, Mexico, Japan. I mean, it's just like the world is my oyster on this. Right. But the California PPO, you're limited to California, right? You know, you have to get your other license and other things. But with this online that I'm able to give my experiences and guide you through something that's actually going to help you and give something of value to you, it's like all over the world. I can help people like all over the world, right?
You just said something that made me think about this. So if you're based in California and your licenses are based here, and you need to take your client to New York, right, are you required to get licensed in New York?
Yes. Or we go with the client kind of as a consultant or, you know, and you contract with the company out of New York. So then that's what you usually do. You do that. I mean, when you start getting into having licenses in every state, you're now talking about an Allied Barton or, you know, these bigger companies, and I can't run accounts out of New York. You know,
are you licensed in other states yourself personally?
I was in Texas because we had a client that moved out to Texas and they wanted us to go with them. They kind of closed up and so did we. And I can't handle accounts if somebody calls out in Texas. And, okay, what do you want me to do about it, right? Yeah. So
one of the things too that I think about is those of us coming from the law enforcement world or even the government world, we spend 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is. And one of the big things we always fight are budgets and available money. Mm-hmm. Hey, I want to go to this training. Sorry, we don't have the budget.
That's right.
Did you find or have you found that as you move up in the executive protection world, the people who really understand what's needed, the wealthy people, do they balk at the costs associated with it?
No. No. Yeah. So you're right. Government, law enforcement, firefighter, whatever. Oh, no overtime. Nope. Can't do this. Nope. Sorry, we're cutting back. Nope. We're not hiring anybody. We have unfilled positions, whatever, with the overfilled positions. You go over to these people, it still boggles my mind. I still can't comprehend the wealth. And we're talking like $45 billion net worth, right? We're talking like $60 billion net worth to where, yeah, they may put a budget on the paper. This is what we want to spend on this. Oh, we need that. Okay, we'll throw in another 10 million. Right? It's like, oh, we need that. Okay, we'll do that. You know what I mean?
What was the first really big contract you wrote that kind of made you go, holy geez, I'm going to ask for this this much money?
I don't want to give up clients, but
can you just give ballpark money wise?
It's in 7 figures.
Wow.
Yeah. High 6 figures.
And no pushback from it at all?
No, that's why I should have asked for more. Right? Right? I was thinking like, oh my God, that's now it's starting to teach
that small-minded mentality.
Yeah. Oh, this is good enough for me. I don't want to scare them off. Right? Well, yeah, look at their budget. Right? Yeah. I'm telling you. I don't want to say get out of law enforcement or get out of any job. There's so much more for you.
Just open your eyes.
I didn't know. Dude, that's why I said when I look back, I was like so small-minded. So like, my God, what am I going to do now? I'll work at Topper's Pizza. I'll drive a forklift. I don't know, you know? Now, whatever, dude. You know, right? So now you go on and just like use your mind to create something. You know, stop allowing people to dictate your destiny, right? Thinking, oh, this is good enough for me. Once you say that, oh, it's good enough for me, you've died, right? People have died when they're 20 years old, but they're never buried until they're 75. Have you ever heard that thing? Well, that's what I feel a lot of law enforcement officers have done. They're doing great careers, doing good jobs, right? They're getting paid good money, But when you actually look at the opportunities out there for you, your families, this PPO license, this PI license will get you beyond all that. And I'll help anybody. I mean, even if they don't want to buy the course and they just want to ask me questions and all that, hey, I'll help you, because I wish I had that. I mean, there was like nobody that wanted to talk to me and help me. You know what I mean? I kind of had to develop this myself, this mindset myself. And I was given the opportunities to be put in these positions to see somebody else. Like, how did you create this, you know? And yeah.
Well, and you said it before, to kind of take a mentality of, I'm not going to help anybody and I'm going to keep all my secrets to myself. Even if you do that, you couldn't cover all the available work out there. So why not give a little bit to somebody else and develop a relationship? Hey, you're based in Pennsylvania. You know what? I got a client who's rolling a pen, and all of a sudden now you got a yin and a yang working relationship. Right. It's opening your eyes. It's that, right, you know, not having that small mind mentality.
Right. You make some money, I make some money. Okay, we're going to the next one to make more money. Right. Yeah. No, I know.
You mentioned earlier that, and there are a lot of, I can say for probably the majority of them in California, they limit the amount of work you can do off duty while you're still a police officer. Can you get all of your licenses without doing the work, or is there a work component requirement to get the license? You see what I'm saying?
No. Okay, so you can own a security company as long as you have a qualified manager.
No, I'm saying like...
Right, but you can have a qualified manager, but you have to have people who are actually performing the security guard services have the guard card.
But could you get a PPO without...
Yes.
Okay. So they'll let you do the licensing ahead of time. So you could potentially have all your licenses in place.
Correct.
When you walk out the door of retirement.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But why would you not? So law enforcement, you don't have to take this 8-hour course, active law enforcement, 8-hour course to go get your guard card. You apply for it. You're a police officer. You have like somebody from the department stamp it and sign it and send it off. And just right when you send it off, you can start working as a guard. You don't have to wait for it to be approved just because you're a police officer already, you know. So you can do that. And I don't know why you would not get your guard card. Why not have it? Why not have all the licenses that, you know, allow you? Because there's going to be some things to where some people don't want to have employees. They don't want to deal with the day-to-day operations of a company, right? So let's say you have your guard card. You want to come work for me, all right? I bill my client $150 an hour. I'll pay you $40 an hour. And you as a cop are like, oh, that's good. I'll be like, yeah, that's good, buddy. Right. So here, I go pay you $40 an hour. Right. So you go get your PPO license. You come to me now and say, hey man, I have my PPO license. Like, okay. So I have this one client, it's $150 an hour. I'll pay you $100 an hour. And I'll 1099 you for $100 an hour. You carry the workers' comp, you carry all that. I make $50 an hour. You make $100 an hour because you have your PPO license. Right. So it's better off for you to have your PPO license so you can subcontract or contract and work it yourself.
Got it.
And you get paid the full billing rate. And you don't have to pay workers' comp on yourself because you're not going to sue yourself, right? And you get
it's 2023. You never know.
You're right. But right. And so, or even if you make $100 an hour, it's way more than you're making at the department.
Right.
You're making $35 an hour, pushing a black and white, right? So now you're making $100 an hour, $75 an hour. That's really, really good, right? So why would you not get your PPO license and do that? That's where you start getting out of that small-minded thing of where you come work for me and I'll pay you $40. Oh, that's $5 more than what I make in the department. Oh, that's good. And I'm going to go work this. Oh, yeah, go work it. Well, now look at the opportunity you're missing out on because you don't have that certain license, right? So that's why I always push people to go get your PPO license. So you can have your own account, right? You get a lot more money, right? And it benefits you way more, benefits you and your family way, way more than just getting your guard card and working side gigs. Yeah. So.
One last question on this specific topic about being a business owner. So you've been into it now coming up on a little over a decade.
Yep.
Going back to when you first started to where you're at today, just from being a business owner, not specific to, you know, security work, what's the biggest thing you've learned? And if you could do it over again, you would do differently?
the biggest thing that I would do differently, I would never change it just because of the experiences that I've had, would be to where I would stay on the administrative side. To this day, I still cover shifts with certain clients, you know, and I was just talking with my wife the other day about this, that so I was chosen to travel out to Utah, and there were big names were going to be there. I'm talking like the richest men in the world that were going to be there for a retreat. I had to fly into Vegas, get cars, like Suburbans, Escalades, SUVs, drive them out to Utah, 4-hour drive, right? Work like 16-hour days there, supporting these clients. And I had no problem with it. I'm getting paid very, very good money. All right. At the end of the week, driving 4 hours back to Vegas, right? Getting up early the next day, flying back here, you know, and I was just tired. I was like, really, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I did my best and they were happy and all that. But I'm reaching the age now, 54 years old, to where I want to stay on the administrative side of it, you know. And a lot of things, my growth, I don't want to say was inhibited or held back because I wasn't staying on the administrative side of it. I was working with that client, you know, who came in 3 to 4 days a week. And I should have stayed on building an Allied Barton, you know. Yeah.
I would imagine there's got to be a lot to do on the back end, the administrative side, to really growing a successful company.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I cover in this program, that there are certain routes that you can go with your PPO. Like I said, you want to have your PPO license, just subcontract with me every now and then. That's fine. You don't want employees. You don't want to deal with that headache. Fine, right? You can do that. You can also have it to where you're an owner and an operator, to where you have employees and you work right alongside the employees. You're the team lead and you go do that. That's fine. Or you can have it to where you are just the administrator. You're grabbing accounts. You're putting people in place to work it. And that'll bring on even more headaches. But you know what I mean? There's different routes that you can go with this license. And that's one thing that I cover with people when they sit and talk with me. And don't get caught up in working with the third richest man in the world. And, oh, my God, this is great. And the money's just so good. Oh, my God. Oh, there's somebody calling for an account over here. Like, oh, I don't have time to meet with you. Right? Well, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Make time.
Make time for it. This is great. This is good. But they want to do business with you. That's going to last for years and years and years. This guy passed away 2 years later. 3 years later, you know what I mean? Okay, now I got to move on to another one, you know what I mean? And am I an employee or am I a business owner? Right. I'm a business owner. I should stick to being a business owner. That's my viewpoint of it. Other people may have, you know, those other options that they want to do, you know. And either way, you're going to make great money. You're going to have great experiences. You're going to be off in Turks and Caicos for a week. You're going to, you know what I mean? It's like it's really, really good. So.
What's the website of your security company?
D.A.D. protectionservices.com.
And for the training program you're creating, what's that website? thesecuritycoachapp.com. And I encourage everybody to look at it. It's very, very affordable compared to the thousands of dollars that other people are saying. And I honestly don't think that they're going to teach you what I'm going to teach you and how to bring your skill set into the security industry, because these other ones don't really teach those little fine details about the footprints in the flower bed and the gathering of the intelligence, reading the tattoos or reading the demeanor. You know what I mean? They don't really go into that. And they're good. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but they don't have that experience that this program has for you, that I developed while in law enforcement, and that I want you to continue your experience over into the security world, which will eventually land you higher paying details, higher paying clients. You know, I've had a great experience in law enforcement, despite what happened, and in security. I think I've had a very, very great life. There was a setback, you know, but we all have setbacks, blocks. But I look at it as, look where it's brought me. I would have never quit. I would have
retired and had my $4,000 or $5,000 a month and been, oh, this is great. You know, I'm retired. Yeah, I'll work a couple shifts here and make $300. You know what I mean? And I would have never grown. I would have never busted out of that matrix. You know, I would have always stayed stuck right there. I would have had to save to go on vacation. I would have had to save to buy a new car. You know what I mean? Now, I don't have to do that really. You know what I mean? And I'm not comparing myself to my clients, but I'm just saying I've kind of reached that point where it's just better off had I stayed or gotten hired somewhere else and then worked until I'm 50, whatever the retirement age on that agency was and all that. So I don't look back at that bitterness. I don't look back at it with bitterness. I look at it like, yeah, but look where I'm at now, right?
But and to your credit, and where a lot of people need to always be thinking is when you hit that first hurdle or that first roadblock, you didn't crawl up into a ball and cry and say, oh, I lost my career. What am I going to do? Right. You're like, hey, I got to take care of my family. Yeah. And you put it into overdrive and you worked the multiple different jobs. Mm-hmm. And that, in my opinion, is what made you successful today in the sense of I'm willing to put in the work on the front end to benefit it on the back end. And
while I was doing that, I didn't know where I was going to end up. I had no idea where this was going to take me, right? I remember being at some A-list celebrity's house over in Malibu working graveyards, and I specifically remember this, showing up, and there was this show called Southland. I don't know if you remember that show. It was about police officers, and I would do my first round. It was right on Malibu of a cliff, and the sun would go down over the ocean. So I always wanted to do my round right around that time, just sit there and look. And I remember sitting there, and I'd watched that show Southland just before that. And, you know, it was law enforcement. I missed it. You know, I still do. I don't want to say that I don't, but I still miss law enforcement. I remember being out there on the back going like, well, this is my life. You know, I'm working, my bills are paid, you know, and I was okay with that. You know, I didn't know where this was going to bring me. I didn't know what opportunities were going to come to me. And I took them. Everybody should take an opportunity that comes to you. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, man, you want to take a computer class? I don't want to take no computer class. Well, go take the computer class. You never know who you're going to meet in that class. You never know what you're going to learn that you can now apply somewhere else. So, you know, there's just these opportunities that were given me, and I took them out of desperation. I didn't take them out of trying to build something. I just took them, okay, I'll try that. Okay, I'll try that. Or okay, I'll try that. You know, and here I am, you know. And yeah. So the word out to anybody who kind of is going through what I'm going through, or just somebody coming out of law enforcement, give me a call, first of all. And there's so much more out there in life than just that law enforcement, that grind. You know, there's that saying of that the ant just knows, he thinks the whole earth is his little mound, right? I mean, it's like a whole community in there, and it's like, man, this is like really, really big, right? But then the camera pans up at the end of the movie doing that, and it shows like, you know, the earth and and the sun and the ocean and the mountains, and you know, there's just yeah. The world is a big place. It's a big place. Look beyond your little bubble. That's right, and look for something that you can give to somebody as value, right? If you just go into trying to make money, it's going to go away. You're going to get burnt out. Your passion is not going to be there. So yeah, you're making money for 2 years. Then after a while, you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, right? Just find something that you are passionate about, you enjoy doing, and you're going to go far. I wish I could talk to some people that are going through crap at their department or whatever. And yeah, so. I appreciate your time, sir. Absolutely. It was fun. I wish you the continued success. Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching. But before you go, if you like the video, please hit that subscribe button. Also, any comments are appreciated. Thank you.